Yes!
Mother the Third!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sequels Month the Sequel, right here on The Completionist.
Last week, we reviewed the 3DS remake of Majora's Mask after reviewing the original version last year, and this week we're doing the sequel to the game that came right after it, Earthbound. Huge special thanks to Kyle Greentrainer for the reproduction card too. Couldn't have done this without you, man, and also hello. Hi.
Hi.
I'm here.
Good.
Yes.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes.
Heck yeah, you're here, Alex. Alex and I just completed this game on our channel, Super Beard Bros, and now we're here to share our thoughts on it as well, because I think it's literally one of our favorite games of all time.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mother 3. Please enjoy.
Warning! I may not have been in the episodes, but I sure did edit a bunch of this playthrough. And judging by how affected they were by their experiences playing it, I'm pretty sure Gerard and Alex would really appreciate it if before you watch this review, you took a moment to play through this game yourself. I totally understand if it's too hard to do since it's not available in the US, but trust me, the extra effort is totally worth it. This game gets to you, man. Alright. The episode can start now.
Mother 3, Shigesato Toys' mythical 2006 Japan-only sequel to Earthbound. It's practically infamous for never getting a proper English language release.
Any plans to bring Mother 3 to America?
Oh,
yes.
everybody asking that.
Yes.
And even still, it's earned a worldwide reputation as a masterpiece in its own right.
But Batman, if it was never released in English, how could you have played it in English? Did you use a fan translation? Isn't that illegal? Are you a criminal? What does any of this have to do with the tomato?
While technically Mother 3 came out exclusively in Japan, fans of the Mother franchise have been dying to sink their teeth into an American localized version, and some people have made that dream a reality.
As far as using the fan translation is concerned, the emulator patch required to play the game in English was the result of work by dozens of experienced volunteer translators working under Clyde Tomato Mandolin. Nintendo knows about it, and Tomato himself has stated that work on the project will cease the moment the game becomes commercially available in English. And speaking of which, yes, I did say that I'd wait for a proper release before reviewing it, but that was before I saw this and decided that maybe I'd be waiting forever.
Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
How about this instead?
Mother 3's story takes place over 8 chapters in a simple land known as the Nowhere Islands, where money doesn't exist and everyone lives in harmony with the land and each other. Chapter 1 puts you in control of Flint, father to a couple of scamp brothers named Lucas and Klaus, and husband to Hinoa, a beautiful and caring mother. His family goes missing on their way back from his father-in-law's house, just as a bunch of bizarre pig mask-wearing henchmen appear in the woods. When his wife turns up dead, his life is turned on its head. Klaus goes missing, and it's up to Flint to try and save him.
Meanwhile, in the second chapter, Duster, the lovable, limping apprentice thief, breaks into a castle with his own father to try and find a very important-looking egg, and briefly meets the tomboy princess Kumatora before they're all washed away by an enormous flood.
Then we meet up with Salsa, the little monkey slave of an awful man named Facade, who seems to be one of the leaders of the Pig Masks. Salsa finally escapes to be with his wife, but on his way runs into Kumatora and finally Lucas, who saves them both from the clutches of the Pig Mask army.
Fast forward a few years, and the Pig Mask influence has begun modernizing the world. People become greedy, trying to buy happiness via happy boxes from the Pig Masks and their fiendish Pig King Porky.
Porky, huh? That sure sounds a lot like Pokey from Earthbound, doesn't it? Almost like, oh, I don't know, maybe he was meant to be named Porky the whole time, and the team that originally localized the first game kinda botched it?
Maybe so, but in either case, this is the world that Lucas enters as the game's main character. Along with Kumatora, Duster, and his faithful dog Boney, Lucas resolves to hunt down the egg, and with the help of an awesome and ambiguously genderqueer race of mages known as Magypsies, he gains psychic powers and learns of a sleeping dragon that lives under the world and also carries with it the power to save or destroy the planet. Porky wants to awaken the sleeping dragon so that he can wipe out the entire planet. The 7 needles are guarded by the 7 Magypsies. If the needles are pulled with someone pure of heart, then the world will be saved and reborn. If the needles are pulled by someone of evil heart, the dragon will obliterate the world. 6 of the 7 Magypsies are in defense of saving the world. However, the 7th Magypsy, who's gone evil, has set all of these events in motion. And soon, the race is on as we are introduced to the masked man who works for Porky and Facade. Lucas and company must race around the world, pulling as many needles as he can before the masked man does, thereby gaining control of the dragon for Porky.
So our plot, essentially, has Lucas and company on the quest to awaken the dragon with Lucas's pure heart. Obviously, this game uses the theme of mothers in a much more visceral way than Earthbound. I can't imagine there's anyone out there who wasn't affected by Hinawa's death. I know personally I lost my mom a few years ago, and I instantly magnetized myself to this game, and I was in it every step of the way. And the interesting way of losing Hinawa, or your own mother, is juxtaposed with Mother Earth becoming impure, but in reality, more than anything else, the main theme of Mother 3 has to do with the fungibility of happiness and morality.
Fungibility? What's that? Some kind of mushroom? Wait, does this game turn into mushrooms like some environmentally conscious version of those self-destructing messages from Mission Impossible?
Not exactly.
Tell me that wouldn't be sweet though.
No, it would.
Damn straight.
Fungibility is a property that certain goods or commodities have where one amount of it is completely equal in value to another equal amount of it. For example, money or a packaged product like a box of cereal are totally fungible. Any dollar is equal in value to another dollar, just like any box of Rice Krispies you grab off the shelf.
In Mother 3, the game is constantly presenting you with situations where you have to ask yourself if two kinds of happiness are equal. For example, at one point, everyone in Lucas's town is happy because everyone loves each other and nothing ever really goes wrong. Later, once Porky introduces money and greed, citizens instead resort to buying these weird happy boxes that don't do anything but sit in your house and symbolize your apparent happiness.
And what about Porky's warped morals? He literally fuses animals together with machines and other animals, but he does it simply because he's bored. It seems objectively evil at first, but it's not quite that simple because to Porky, who's been alive for a long time and seen the entirety of time and space for what it is, everything seems so inconsequential. And really, who can actually say he's wrong? Wow. Okay, maybe this game is kind of super good.
And really, there's so much more to talk about too, like how Shigesato Itoi himself describes the uncomfortable beauty of the fused chimeras, and a focus on human physiology through the Magypsies, and the puberty or menstruation-like way you learn about your new psychic powers. But this is a completionist video, dang it! Not an in-depth critical analysis! Let's just agree the game is beautiful and has many ogre-like layers, and let's keep this train a-moving.
Mother 3 is possibly the most beautiful and timeless Game Boy Advance game I've ever played. Really, it doesn't do much different from Earthbound, but the level of polish is astounding. The lush environments come alive on the GBA, and the added power makes the whole experience feel bigger in a combination of tiny little ways that might even be undetectable on their own. The colors are so vibrant and solid, the sound effects are rich and add palpable texture, and the level of detail on all the sprites is much more satisfying this time around. It's as close to a blockbuster experience a portable game could ever get. And the writing that goes along with it almost feels like it's on another level above what we get in Earthbound.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Granted, 11 real-world years passed between the two games, and the medium itself matured quite a bit in that time, but Earthbound sort of leads up to one really powerful moment, while there's not even a single chapter of Mother 3 that goes by without the game totally catching you off guard with some sort of instance of intense emotion, be it fear, sadness, sexiness, happiness, disgust, pity, or whatever else. Like, remember last year when you guys praised Earthbound for going out of its way to make you feel things other than fun? Mother 3's like that too, but I'd say that in this game, the other emotional experiences might even actually outweigh the fun. It leaves you with an experience that's more like reading a modern adult novel or catching a particularly lighthearted Oscar pick at the movies.
I feel that too, and you know what? I know it's scandalous, but I'd almost say that because of these heavier themes, and because a larger range of emotions was required, the music Shogo Sakai composed for this game actually outperforms the original Earthbound soundtrack, at least in terms of fitting the mood and emotions of the game. The Magypsy themes are particularly enjoyable standouts, and if you haven't heard the Water's Great Hot Spring Healing song, just sit back, relax, and groove with me for a second.
Oh, yeah, baby, that's nice.
This is how you're gonna want to do it.
Get with me, dog. Slip into the jet stream.
Right. Oh yeah, and the puns in this game are off the charts too. Just look at all these chimeras. Cattlesnake, Einswine, Pigtunia, Rhinocerocket. I gotta once again give major props to Tomato for not only being one of the best translators out there, but for being so specific and so caring in the games that he works on. Just like the presentation, the gameplay in Mother 3 is largely similar to what you see in Earthbound, but with a few key additions that make it a little more fun, convenient, and interesting.
Take, for instance, the run command. The original Earthbound didn't have a run button, which sometimes made it hard to navigate around the enemies that appear on the world map. Mother 3 adds running, but rather than it being hold to toggle on or off, it better simulates the actual act of running a little by asking you to hold down the run button to crouch into a running stance, and then locking you into the run when you let go until you run into something. Run into certain people, creatures, and items, and sometimes unique things can happen. It makes what most games take for granted into a fun feature that gives the player a little added agency. It's nice.
Battles have been spruced up a little too, with the addition of a rhythm-based combo system. Pressing the attack button in time with the rhythm will earn you extra damage, but rather than making it totally obvious, Mother 3 asks that you memorize which song goes with which enemy, and beyond that, what beat you have to tap out in order to properly chain the combo. It looks simple when you see it, but those are some Rock Band level mechanics there. Props to the dev team.
They also, in order to match the simpler style of the world, removed some popular Mother series staples from the game, like ATM machines, hospitals, and calling your dad to save. They've just been revamped and redesigned to fit the world a bit better. For example, instead of phone booths and ATM machines, Mother 3 uses a series of fourth wall breaking frogs who wear various costumes and are seen in all stages of Lucas's adventure doing crazy things. There's a frog in a bucket, a frog in the bathroom, a frog that's being lifted up by a balloon, and my favorite, the frog in the red car. Seriously, there's a frog in a red car. Who taught him how to drive? Do you know, Greg? Do you know about a frog? I'm asking Greg a question.
No, I have no idea.
He's just driving a car!
He's got
What are you doing?
he's got stuff to do.
He's going in circles!
And let's not forget about the infamous rope snake and how Mother 3 somehow got us invested in the wants and needs of an item that's basically just there to help you swing across gaps.
That said, the inventory system has no excuse for being so archaic in a year as recent as 2006, and the fact that you still have to store some of your stuff with an item guy, pleasant and supportive as he may be, just kind of gets my goat. It's nuts how often your inventory fills up, even with 4 party members. I guess it's to encourage more frequent item use or something, which is kind of interesting, but it left me feeling more frustrated than excited. But the game more than makes up for it with the ending of the story.
Like Earthbound, there isn't really a large completion bonus, so much as it just involves maxing your characters in the traditional RPG fashion that we do here on the show, as well as grinding for those final weapons that have the 3% spawn rate. We did get all the ultimate gear for everyone, except during our playthrough, I may have sold Lucas's ultimate headpiece, but hey, you make mistakes, especially when you're filming a Let's Play. So the jig is finally up. Your needle pulling adventure is all done, save for the last needle, and the final fight goes down at the top of Empire Porky Building, a giant tower smack dab in the middle of New Pork City, King Porky's depressingly modern and apocalyptic utopia. We learned that a long time ago, the world as we know it ended, and that the few survivors were all stuck together on a white ship. When they landed, they gave each other new simple identities, erased everyone's memories, and stored all the destructive mindsets instilled in people in modern society within the egg. Porky, who had been traveling through time for thousands of years, finally ended up in this time, and out of sheer boredom, he decided to try his hand at destroying the world by taking over the dragon originally meant to protect it.
I gotta say, I love the hilarious climb to the top of the tower. Floor after floor, Porky just keeps egging you on to get to the top, and it seems never ending. I also really appreciate the segment where you coast by all of Porky's prized possessions to see a lot of familiar faces, statues, and icons from Earthbound. Kind of connects everything all together with a nice little bow.
We also learned that, surprise, Facade is the Magypsy who fell under Porky's control, and that the mysterious masked man Lucas had been racing around the world this whole time was none other than his own brother Klaus. Porky reveals that the final needle is just below the city, and when we finally see his true form, he's just a withered old man with time travel-induced immortality. He's unable to move outside of his mecha suit, and when you finally destroy it, he reveals that he had Dr. Andonuts, Jeff's father from Earthbound, build him an absolutely safe capsule so that no matter what, nothing can ever harm him. He climbs inside and seals himself away forever, and Andonuts explains that this is all Porky will ever be now, because the capsule will never unseal.
Wait, that's it? Porky just gets to live forever with a withered body and nothing to do besides exist? Actually, that sounds pretty awful.
It is. But Porky's fate leaves you with a lot to think about. Morality becomes grayer the greater your understanding of space-time becomes, and because of his unique position, you might even be able to read Porky as an avatar for the innermost desires of all humans. Total safety from everything, even death.
From there, all that's left to do is handle Klaus. Almost the entire town joins you in the tower for Porky's downfall, and Lucas's father Flint decides to join your team for the last leg of the journey. The fight with Klaus, if you can even call it that, is the hardest part of the game to watch.
All three of us have brothers relatively close to us in age, and let me tell you, watching Klaus's family work together to help rekindle the light in his heart is extremely relatable if you and your brother have ever gotten into any sort of serious fight when you were younger. And of course, we all did.
Lucas is left in the crossfire. Flint is watching helpless from the sidelines, and even Hinawa's spirit appears from the afterlife to save him. But in the end, after Flint takes a huge energy blast in place of Lucas, Klaus is barely able to express a few words of gratitude before he succumbs to his self-inflicted injuries. It's the darkest of moments, but his redemption also renders it sort of light. Lucas sees his brother off, pulls the final needle, and then...
well, nothing really. The world shakes and we see a few short scenes of cataclysm occurring across the world, but then, nothing. Blackness. Just a single word, end, with a question mark after it.
See? What'd I tell ya? What a jip.
Sort of, but not quite, Greg. I think something crazy might be at work here. Old Mystery Toy just might have one last trick up his sleeve, and we'll talk about exactly what that is in just a moment.
So the needle is pulled and we're at the end screen, so what's this? Why can you seemingly walk around in this pitch black end room? Everyone's here and they all want you to know they're all right, but no one's really specific on exactly how everything turned out. What's the deal?
Psh, Itoy probably just didn't know what to do and just gave up. Psh, Itoy.
Maybe, but I think it might really have to do with that fungibility of happiness we were talking about earlier. I think the epilogue of Mother 3 is asking a question. If you don't get to play it, and this is where the story ends, is one happy ending really any better than another? The characters don't actually have real lives, so it doesn't really matter exactly how their fictional account plays out, right? Games are unique because they're an interactive world that usually ends before many of the characters die, and oftentimes many of these games don't even get sequels. So what happens to the characters? Mother 3 says it doesn't matter, as long as we know everything's fine, and that's precisely what it gives us, and not a single thing more. Sure, it's not the best completion bonus ever, but it's probably the most unique.
As far as more traditional completionist fare is concerned, there's not a huge amount of stuff to do besides leveling everyone up as high as they go and grinding a few specific creatures for a few ultimate weapon type rewards, but even that isn't really confirmed to be a real thing in the game. As we just heard, it's really more about enjoying the journey than reveling in your victory after it ends.
To be fair, for optimizing our playthrough, we were graciously given the Mother 3 handbook made by Fangamer. Big shout out to them for letting us use it to help with our playthrough, and they just announced they're making a new one for Earthbound, which is very exciting. Mother 3 took what we loved about Earthbound and improved on everything so much better, which is saying a lot because Earthbound is already perfect. Leveling up in this game was fine, sometimes it was actually fun even, but this 3% practically complete RNG weapon drop grinding thing was absolutely ridiculous. But then again, this is something that was present in Earthbound and not required, so hey. I personally love grinding in RPGs, and I appreciated those moments.
That aside, there really isn't much challenge to beating this game other than memorizing the different rhythm combos, and that's really only if you want to. The game's perfectly beatable without it.
Yeah, everyone already says it, but let's say it here too just for posterity's sake. The Mother games aren't for beating, they're for experiencing. Take your time as you play, do things over and over and think about their greater meaning. Talk to everyone, read everything, explore. These games are beautiful works of art, and for that reason, I've never felt better about cutting the struggle short.
Mother 3 is a once-in-a-lifetime game, totally unlike any other experience you'll ever play, and impossibly, I think it may have surpassed Earthbound in terms of pure empathy and emotion. Sure, it's not super hardcore, but that's not what everything gaming is about.
There's so much more to being human than winning, and Shigesato Itoi captures this idea perfectly in Mother 3. Now, if only they'd release it stateside already. Anyway, with that in mind, guys, we give this game our completionist rating of
Complete it.
Complete it!
Thank you guys so much for all of your support. It really helps every single episode. Be sure to buy our shirts over at the Yeti if you're into that. But if you're looking for other ways to support the show, you can sign up for a free trial for audible.com at this link right here. Audible is a great service that you can download audiobooks and listen to them. Right now, I'm currently listening to reading a book, the book The Console Wars, Sega Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation by Blake J. Harris. I dare you guys to guess what it's about. I've been in this mood to listen to more information about this kind of colossal battle because I shot a collab video with Matt Pat over at Game Theory on his new show called Deadlock, and we had the debate of SNES versus the Genesis, and that's just kind of been on my mind a lot, and I definitely recommend listening to it or reading it if you're into that thing too. But it's definitely been a good, relaxing tale to kind of hear about the history of this war, if you will.
And after you cry completing it, be sure to subscribe. And if you missed last week's update video on Majora's Mask 3D, check it out here. Also, if you want to see some fake news stuff again, Super Scope News has got your back. Now back to you, Gerard and Alexis.
That's all the time we've got for today, guys. So please, as always, let us know what your thoughts of today's episode is somewhere on the internet. There's so many different places to let us know what you think.
Be sure to check back Monday for the glorious return of Super Beard Bros. It's going to be great. Now, if you excuse us, let's just reminisce for a minute about Gerard's freak out with the frog in the car.
Look, it was very shocking to me that there was a frog in a car.
Close your eyes.
How does it have a license? How does it afford a car? It's a frog. It's a frog.
They're flooding back.
There's a frog riding a car. There's a frog in a car.
What is he doing? He's just driving around town? What in the hell? What is this? Oh, this is the ATM. So yeah,
There's a frog in a car, Alex.
just handle it, man. Maybe he bought that car. Maybe he worked hard as a banker. Yeah, he's got to go. He's got stuff to do. You guys can't see it, but Gerard is done. He broke it. We lost him, you guys.
He's just driving a car!
He's got
What are you doing?
he's got stuff to do.
He's going in circles!
He's probably got a family to feed.
His job is to save the game and take my money, but instead, he's driving a toy car!
Hey, but if he can do it with the wind in his hair, more power to him.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm back again. I'm sorry.
That's so good.